Midnight had its most chaotic week yet. Really? Midnight, I mean, well, technically we saw the buffs and the nerfs going live. We got a bunch of shit going down. Looks like week 1 chaos got a bunch of classes here. So yeah, the classes have been wild. The Pringles debacle, we talked about that yesterday. So maybe some of this shit we've already talked about, but let's get into this one here from Bellular.
It's been a heavy week for Warcraft drama. A good-natured giveaway is turning out to be very costly. Class redesigns are falling apart at the seams. There's a different version of Midnight that we can't play, but on the other hand, Blizzard are finally serving up a long-awaited race fantasy. They're solving a massive expansion issue and, well, they're also creating another one while they're at it. There's a lot to talk about today, so let's get into the news. Quick thing first, have you ever wondered how spam callers get your number, or how just eerie things seem to happen in the internet where people appear to have your data when they shouldn't?
Yeah, what's going on with that? It happens a lot,
and a big reason is data brokers. They buy your personal info, your name, email, phone, address, they aggregate that stuff and they sell it on. That means that you don't actually have to be hacked for these bad things to happen. Be it through your data being
so someone's got all my hub history, all my hub browser history.
That data can
unfortunate
end
for them
up over in the internet. Now, this video was sponsored by Incogni because what they do is they send removal requests to these brokers on your behalf. They do it automatically, and they do it continuously. Well, that's because brokers recollect your data even after it's been taken down, so doing it yourself is not a one-time fix. Incogni keeps scanning and keeps sending takedowns. Now, I've had mine running since 2023, and right now I can see 257 requests have been made across 48 brokers, 250 are completed, and it's actively monitoring 21 to make sure my data actually stays down. And honestly,
amazing.
With a lot of that talk from Anthropic and the OpenAI stuff about domestic mass surveillance enabled by AI,
Midnight been received? I think Midnight's pretty good so far.
Through commercially available data sets, well, yeah, I think the likes of this just got so much more important. And the best news is that at incogni.com/bellularwarcraft, code bellularwarcraft, you'll get 60% off the annual plan, which is the plan that I use.
Use the man's offer.
Below. This is the Thunder Ridged Elk, and at a glance, it is just another mount. But in reality, it is a very expensive lesson, and this time, not even for Blizzard. It's an expensive lesson for Pringles, of all people. The Xalatath-flavored Pringles, let's not think about that sentence anymore, for this expansion launch.
Hold on, though. Seriously, I think Pringles knew what they were doing. Everybody knows Xalatath is a feet uwu meme. We all know that. And then the flavor they decide to put her on is sour cream and onion. I mean, feet flavor. What is going on here? These sexual fetishes are out of control. And then, yeah, this whole thing with Pringles, I mean, it got out of hand. Obviously, WoW players are complete degens, and they basically hacked the shit out of this thing and started selling them out on eBay. So, yeah, of course the fucking thing went sideways. It was supposed to only be in Germany, from what I know. But I'll let Bellular talk, and then I'll talk about what this freaking means for us going forward.
For this expansion launch must have been a success, because Pringles actually returned to do another promo. This time, though, it was one much more involved and with a better reward. So they ran a real world quest in Germany. They planted Pringle pillars for players to find, and when the pillars activated, they would display a QR code. That code would lead to a quiz, and completing the quiz would give you a promo code for the Thunder Ridged Elk. Now, you probably know
Why didn't
how
we get
a
this
QR
shit?
code works, right? Fancy way of displaying a link. A link that anyone can use.
Yeah.
Of course, Pringles know that as well, so they put measures in place. Only German IPs could access the site. Job's done, right?
VPN.
Obviously not, because people started using VPNs to access from anywhere. And hey, it's a digital code for...
It's like right away my mind knows. Like, as a degen WoW player, you just know. You just know how these workarounds are going to go.
Amount. Who cares? Well, you see, there were only 3,000 codes, so you know what's coming next. eBay listings started at over £100 and quickly shot up to 700. And the worst part is, some people actually bought them. There are multiple listings that sold for over £400.
Oh my God.
That's basically over $500.
Oh my God.
And 2 of them were from the same account. So scalpers walked away from this whole thing thousands richer, reselling code.
Pre-watch. No, I didn't fucking pre-watch. We talked about this yesterday, so I know all about this thing. It's pretty crazy. And yeah, people were buying this shit off of eBay. My God. I mean, WoW player, 500, that's $500 basically, that they're spending on a mount. That's not, I mean, it's cool. It's no Spectral Tiger. It's a cool Elk for sure, but I think it's just, people love rare shit in this game. They really do. So spending $500 on something that only 3,000 people will ever have until now.
That they got for free. Now, Pringles quickly took the site down, citing, quote, massive hacker attacks, and they promised to be back, and they even said that the mount belongs to the community, not to any scalpers. Now, to me, this reads like a promise to be back with more codes, and hopefully not in a limited way. But here's where it's interesting. Blizzard actually had something to say. Even though it's less immediately helpful, it is good. So they clarified that these time-limited promotions are not supposed to be limited forever, and this mount was supposed to be an early bonus for German players. Everyone else would be able to get it from the trading post at a later date. That being said, Blizzard's post says, destined to eventually become available, so I would not hold out hope for that being anytime soon.
No, but it'll happen, and what I'm happy with is, like, this is sets a precedent that all these, like, outside, giveaway, random promotional items will eventually show up on the trading post. That's the hope, and that's what the trading post was supposed to be. If you guys remember when that thing came out, Blizzard had, like, basically promised, like, these items that were previously only dollar, amount available, they were only available in the store for whatever reason, would eventually potentially show up on the trading post where you could buy it, for free, essentially just for having your sub active. And that was the great thing about the trading post early on. Believe it or not, the trading post is not supposed to just be about butterfly wings and fucking ooh-woo costumes, okay? Which is what it feels like a lot these days. So seeing this cool Alec finally showing up potentially, and maybe some other really cool giveaway items that only existed out in the real world, that would be really cool.
It's kind of frustrating because Blizzard knows limited mounts are just scalper fodder, and I'm not even talking about the old TCG mounts. They even avoided this problem recently with the Crimson Bowtie from the earlier Pringles promo. Basically, if you have a link and an email address, you can get a code. Well, even those are on eBay, but they're only selling for about £1 each. Now, if they were artificially limiting supply for their own profit, I guess it would make sense. But with the way that it went down, all they've done is lined the pockets of some enterprising scalpers. So hopefully the deal with Pringles was worth all of the chaos, but at least we now know
the sour gummy worms for the pet
on a
that was
limited
another one
promo
too.
mount because it won't be limited forever.
The trolley sour gummy worm one, but I don't think that one had this issue because it wasn't limited.
In the store. And with that light, funny story talked about, well, let's do some accidental class pruning. So in Midnight, your spec will have at least one core ability, something that's instantly recognizable, maybe even a visual that sets that spec apart. Now, Blizzard are usually careful about not removing these in prunes. They're spells that are just too iconic. But of course, balancing is a different thing entirely. And that's where we get to the Arcane Mage, because the Arcane Mage, with certain talents, doesn't even press arcane missiles anymore. And that's because everything that missiles does, Orb does better. But it ain't just arcane. Fire mages who talent into Frostfire press just one button in their execute window. They actually ignore Pyroblast entirely. Then there's survival hunters who are playing
single button rotation is literally just one button. That's hilarious.
Pack leader. They now totally ignore a massive glowing button in their rotation because pressing the glowing button would be a DPS loss. Mistweavers and melee don't actually press their melee buttons. Shadow Priests have an execute button that is supposed to give them free movement GCDs, but Shadow Word Death is actually so bad that they barely press it.
I think that got fixed in a hotfix this morning. Shadow Word Death specifically.
And if you want to hear the best part, Devourer, the big new shiny spec, doesn't even use its trademark big cool moment spell in its melee build.
Collapsing Star?
And that's not to mention Arms Warrior, which is so out of whack that they shouldn't even be taking their last Apex talent point. Cam. Like literally, you should put the talent points somewhere else. Obviously then, something is not right with those classes. Now Blizzard said, quote, no class tuning until the season, because they wanted to get on top of things. Sadly though, the season launch tuning addressed issues and did buffs and nerfs, but it actually addressed none of the issues that I just talked about. In fact, the fire problem was actually caused by last-minute changes tipping the balance. Meanwhile, Shadow Priest had their major AoE tool, Psychic Link, be massively nerfed. Now, to be fair, that is because they got loads more single-target damage to make up for it, but that being nerfed is a bit of a sore spot because it's a balance problem that has existed since that spell first entered the game in Legion. I mean, seriously, priests should kind of be crashing out over it, but I think at this point they're just so used to putting on their clown noses that they don't really care anymore. And for the rest of
They're
us,
used to
the
the
Midnight
abuse.
class redesigns have felt pretty good.
Yeah, Blood DK feels good. I will say, like, I'm not spec right. I'm literally spec just to freaking survive right now for us in raid because I'm under geared. So I'm going in a raid literally spec to just heal my ass off and not really do much damage. But overall, I think the damage buffs to Blood DK have been great. I feel like a lot of people like the changes to their classes for the most part. But there's definitely those classes out there that I keep seeing showing up in my comments where like people are really pissed about their current state. So there are certainly some classes that are broken. What I will say is these hot fixes, I'm trying to report on them every morning because they keep coming in every single day. There's class hot fixes going on because there were such major changes to the classes going into this season.
And they'll definitely feel better once we get more secondary stats. But Midnight's big wave of changes was done in a hurry after the decision to limit add-ons, and now we are seeing the consequences of that. We're seeing the real balance problems. Now, this is not some dooming, because they will get a handle on these outliers once the season gets rolling and they get some actual proper endgame data that's in hard content. But to me, it is just a bit more evidence that Blizzard are struggling to keep all of this complexity under control. I'm not saying anything drastic has to change, but I do worry that they're making life a little bit hard for themselves.
Yeah, I agree.
Master looting is back in World of Warcraft, but it was not announced by Blizzard.
China.
It was announced by Thunderfire Games, who are the team that NetEase have got working on the Chinese WoW servers.
Yeah.
You see, in Midnight, China are actually finally caught up to our version of the game, but they are running things a little bit differently, and Master Loot is one of those different...
Yeah, remember China lost WoW for like, what was it, 2 years or something? The Bobby Kotick, fallout with China and NetEase happened, and basically they didn't get Shadowlands or Dragonflight. They missed out on like 2 expansions. So it had been quite a while. I think 4 years almost. I imagine not having WoW for that long. So they're back, and they had to catch up. They did a whole event to catch them up. And yeah, they got Master Loot back, which is an interesting one. I don't know if people want that back necessarily. It's basically, the guild leader or the raid leader distributes the loot. That's people would gather DKP, and all they had these systems to distribute loot, or they just ninja loot it to their friends. That was always a thing too.
So it will not be coming to the West.
I don't miss master loot. You know what? I miss personal loot. Like, say what you want about Shadowlands, I enjoyed personal loot in that one. Because at least I knew when I killed a boss, if loot showed up on my screen, it was mine, and I was excited. Now it's like loot shows up on my screen, and then I have like this anxiety, am I going to get it? And then I have like a bad streak where I just don't get shit for like 2 weeks, and it feels bad, man. It does. I mean, yesterday I had literally the biggest roller coaster ever where the fucking guy who won the thing was a fake Samiccus. Somebody else made another Samiccus character, rolled a higher roll than me, and I thought I won it. Because all I saw was Samiccus rolls a 92. I was like, oh shit, I won the item. No, I did. It was the fucking imposter. So yeah, that was emotional by itself.
Basically,
bring
they
back
supposedly,
personal
quote,
loot.
help reduce the burden of guild and raid management. And honestly, I can actually see it. Dishing out loot as a guild is way easier with Master Loot, but it was removed for a fairly obvious reason. It did far too much damage to pug raids. Now, we had to fight to get group loot back after struggling with personal loot for a very, very long time.
Wait, do people not like personal loot? Was he saying struggle? People not like it? I thought personal loot was great. I don't know. Maybe that's like a fringe opinion. I didn't realize that.
I do think it's unlikely we'll see Master Loot again on Western servers. Now, that's not the only thing China's getting that we're not. They have now got their own official guild recruitment page going live. It's basically there to help rebuild some more of the WoW community after, of course, the WoW servers were taken offline for an extended period of years. Hopefully that's good for them, and hopefully they learn lessons from this, meaning that we could maybe get some sort of guild recruitment board. And to double down on that energy of rebuilding, well, they've put out a bounty on Team Liquid's head. Yeah, really. If a Chinese guild snatches world first in this season, even if it's just for the Dream Rift, they will walk away with over $220,000. I wouldn't bet on it happening. Liquid are pretty damn good, but it would be a hell of a story.
Such a China thing. Such a China thing for national pride. It's time to win, boys. Get some money behind this shit. Beat the Europeans and Americans.
Next story. WoW is a big game, but one with an even bigger world. It's got factions, races, and ideas that it can really dive into. Now, for years, that's meant fans of more niche things, in other words, anything except elves, have basically sat in the sidelines, waiting for their time in the sun, waiting for WoW to do something other than cover the elves. Well, it seems like Blizzard have found a solution. It's no Netflix anthology or novel series, but it is something. It is really sick lore. Now, for some context, Anshe is the sun god who is worshipped by the Tauren Paladins,
Right.
and the Tauren Paladins go by the name of the Sunwalkers. Now, Anshe has already been mentioned a few times in Midnight already, which is a big change from the past, where he really wouldn't get mentioned that much. In Arator's journey, Arator learns about what being a Sunwalker is. So that means he learns a bunch of Anshe stuff.
Right.
So, in line with that, in patch 1205, and thanks to the trading post,
Oh,
you can
shit.
finally dress up like a Sunwalker.
Oh, this is freaking badass. I love this. This is such like a Tauren. This is a quintessential Tauren Paladin armor set. Damn, I love this. It looks like plate and wood. It's got the freaking paint coming off, and it totally looks Paladin-esque. Like, it does fit the light, but it's so Tauren. It's got the Tauren. These are freaking cool. I don't even play, obviously, I don't play Tauren or Paladin, but I can appreciate some really cool lore sets. These are freaking badass. I didn't know these were coming.
Like a Sunwalker. Now, this does not sound like big, shocking news, but here's the thing. They're actually using this as a delivery method for lore. That's because the Sunwalker garb says that the first Tauren in Stone Talon lit great bonfires in honor of Anshe. And reading on, we learn the Dusk Runners and Dawn Chasers symbolize the short days of winter and Anshe's rest. And according to these weapons, Tauren myth says that Anshe himself wields
totem on the
blades
back
of fire to cut through the encroaching shadows. It's quite cool, but the mounts have maybe got the most important bits of lore. These are Sun Rocks, who are messengers to Anshe.
Oh, man.
They've recently returned to Kalimdor, reigniting lost stories, which I think means there's some Tauren lore being cooked.
Yeah, there's some Tauren lore coming in with the light and Anshe and everything. This is and it's cool that they're not just delivering the Tauren lore via like, oh, here's a side quest. They got items that have mounts and armor. This is cool. Nice looking mount there too.
Lost stories, which I think means there's some Tauren lore being cooked up, right?
They look like
I mean, this is more than
average
solid
druids.
Tauren lore. It's really cool. It is, at first glance, some background myth, but the return of the Sun Rocks is actually quite pointed. It means something is going on right now. Of course, whenever things in Midnight take a turn for the worse, narratively, I mean, worse for our characters, not worse as a story, then maybe Dusk Runners might have to come back to light bonfires across Kalimdor to fight the encroaching darkness. So maybe in the trading post, this is just an idea that they weren't able to squeeze into Midnight, so it's ended up here. Or maybe it is them doing a little bit of teasing and a little bit of world building for wherever they're going to be taking us next. It's quite fantastic. You can imagine you Sunbringer Tauren carrying flaming totems to the peak of Stone Talon just as their ancestors did.
Lore.
And all of that feeling like peak Warcraft, maybe even some peak Warcraft 3. So Blizzard here are intentionally connecting the Tauren Paladin lore not just to the sun, but also to an eclipse. And the themes line up with the story here. The flavor text speaks of his searing fury, of how his light giveth and his axe taketh. Not to mention a reminder of Desilus's real name, Meshanshe. Now, this could all just be some delicious flavor for Tauren Paladins, but to me, it sounds an awful lot like some world building for a Kalimdor revamp, perhaps after The Last Titan.
Cool axe lore, yeah.
It's an awesome way to squeeze in some real fantasy, even when there's no room left in the story. And while we're speaking about cosmetics, the Spellbreaker Shield and the Glaive are in the 1205 files, which does mean that almost 20 years later, we are finally getting the damn things.
He can finally look like a guard of Silvermoon.
They're in there with a bunch of other...
The trading post is going to be freaking epic. Man, these trading posts coming up. We saw the Alec showing up at some point. We got all this cool armor. We got this freaking Tauren Paladin look. This is cool. Finally, the trading post is getting some W's. Other than, like I said, a bunch of Uwu butterfly armor. Ret get buff today. Or no, in PvP or PvP. I didn't see any Retribution buffs. The Retribution got buffed, though. Like, heading into Season 1, they had a bunch of buffs.
Weapons. Okay, but to finish us off,
you want more ret
we
buffs?
have one
Jesus.
story of Blizzard giveth, and another of Blizzard taketh. When Midnight launched, one thing became real apparent, and that was Voidlight Marl was going to be really expensive and be a massive pain. Now, most players would have a few thousand after the first week or so of play, and that sounded alright. It would sound alright until you'd actually go to a Decor vendor and realize that you'd have to bankrupt yourself for getting a table and a few chairs. it was obscenely expensive. As an example, the Flying Mount Renown rewards cost 8,000, and Mr. GM worked out that buying just one of everything was going to cost over 300,000.
Oh,
and that
shit.
translates to 2 years of doing solid weeklies and world quests.
It's the whole
Of course,
expansion.
that means that if you wanted any
The expansion's supposed to only last 2 years.
duplicates of any decor, you'd basically be a bit screwed. Housing enthusiasts made this problem very well known, and Blizzard actually stepped in. In a hotfix last week, they cut decor prices down by a whopping 80% in some cases. So
Good.
yeah, complaining does actually work. But of course, here, Blizzard have given with one hand, so now it's time for you to find out about how they've taken with the other.
Okay, well, what
The
happened?
new Abundance event has split the room. Some people love it, some others don't really see what the point is. As for me, I'm stuck in the middle being kind of confused about all the numbers flashing around my screen. It somehow makes me feel old. Now, crafters definitely do see the point of this. That's mostly because they need huge stacks of unalloyed abundance in order to get high-level profession tools.
Okay.
Now, the short version of this is that you get 300, 600, or 900 currency based on how many orbs you pick up and donate to a shrine. But because it's rewarding, it is of course limited. You can find 8 shards of Dun-Dun a week, and you only get abundance whenever you spend one of those to enter. There is no catch-up, and there's no infinite farming. So you basically have to max out every single run, or you'll feel like you're losing out. And of
Yeah,
course,
this
being
is
the
outside of my
giga-brand
knowledge.
optimizers they are,
I don't know what the hell
crafters
this is
quickly
about.
found out that doing this in raids made it way easier. So Blizzard
Abundance might be the
stealth nerfed
worst
the
thing.
There was no hotfix, there was no post, just big old nerf to how abundant the Abundance event actually is. Now everyone's finding it a lot harder to hit the max reward, and crafting progress is being stuck because of it. Which sucks, because it has a weekly currency gate.
Oh,
now,
no.
if it was this way from the start, then I guess, sure, not very fun, but whatever. Nerfing it silently like this, though, has just put up a little bit of a wall between the crafters who did it early and got way ahead, and those who are now just, well, feeling permanently behind. Crafting, it seems, needs
It's tough.
a bit more care going forward when it comes to things like this. Oh man, that was a lot of news, and the season has only just started, but if you are looking to get ahead, I think you should check out what a loose-lipped Blizzard post has said about flying in The Last Titan and beyond.
Yeah, we talked about that. That was a cool one, too. Yeah, nice video overall. Interesting stuff. But that Pringles debacle was crazy. Other than that, yeah, classes, a lot of classes in good spots for the most part. I think the game's in a pretty good state right now. I like how things are working. The single rotation stuff is freaking hilarious, though. And overall, I would say those Tauren armor sets, man, those are a big win. I like those things a lot. Those are badass. Hopefully we get more lore-related armor like that. Nice video overall from Bellular.